Welcome back to APAC North. We are fired right up here after that last game between Reject and Talon. We're coming into matchup number 3, which is going to be FAV and Cyclops. It's our match of the day because there's an awful lot riding on this one for Cyclops. X, how are they looking?
This has got a lot to live up to, in my opinion, to be match of the day now, given what we've just seen. It's always very difficult to pick which match is going to be the best one, but Cyclops, for me, are a team that I know can deliver. They haven't been too consistent lately, Fabian, and that's been a criticism on a lot of people's lips when talking about Cyclops. Known, of course, for extravagant playstyles, big individual performances, it just hasn't been coming together of late.
It haven't been, and they've been looking quite lost, especially in their last game as against Fnatic. It was a lot of solo movement and one person moving around the map on their own and then being picked up. And then another person trying to fill the same position and he's also getting picked off. So a lot of solo stuff, not really been living up to the CAG we know. But we'll see if that changes today.
Definitely work to be done. On the other side of the matchup, we have FAV, a team that has been struggling, Fabian.
Yeah, FAV have been struggling, I'd say more than CAG, but both of them have been struggling quite a lot. Another team that kind of suffers a little bit from not doing that well in their team play. Just like CAG, we've always complained about them not doing team play. FAV has kind of fallen into the same path. Last stage we were talking about the Romu effect, how Romu really have come into this team and really turned it up and made them play a lot better. That kind of disappeared in the end of the stage, and we haven't seen it back this part of it either. So yeah, they just need to step up, all of the players individually, but also as a team. That's what we need to see from them.
Talking about individuals, we've got a little head-to-head for you. Typon versus Anatun. What's the comparison here, Phil?
So the comparison here isn't about the stats. I mean, obviously Anatun has the orange one in everything, which means he's better at everything. That's not what we're looking at here. We're looking at the two players that need to really step up here to show that they have what it takes to be a player that sits on this position. Anatun we have seen so many times. We know his worth. I think that CAG have been struggling because he haven't really shown up this stage, and that just will happen every now and then to the players. Typon, on the other hand, he needs to really actually do the step up, because a lot of the time he makes these individual mistakes that cost his team rounds. So he needs to stop making mistakes, start playing more basic Siege, and just follow the plan. These are the two players that just need to take another extra step for both of their teams to improve.
Both in the bottom half, interestingly, of APAC North overall when we do look at those numbers. So, like you say, both having a bit of a struggle at the minute, as are their teams realistically. Obviously, the big question is, can Cyclops bring us the better version of themselves that we sometimes see, or will it be more of the struggling? We're going to see which map we will be going to. We'll have a little look at the map ban, bring it in there from the side, slide it on in, and we can see it's going to be a bit of an Oregon now. I'm a bit of a Morrigan kind of guy. I know a lot of people say Oregon, like, where are you falling, X? What are you thinking?
I'm all for a bit of Oregon.
I love a bit of Oregon.
You know
where you stand with Oregon?
I actually feel like I need a bit of Oregon after that last game, and the first game, to be honest with you. I feel like we've been sort of 100 miles an hour, and it'll be nice to just go into a little bit of Oregon where we've got, you know, a little bit of time to sit back and enjoy ourselves, and then just watch some lightning executes, which is always what you expect from a map like Oregon. In terms of teams favouring it, we can see that Cyclops are reasonably okay on Oregon at the moment, 2-3 going off these statistics. They encompass a little bit more than just this region. So in terms of a pick for them, which is essentially what they got to do, I think it's certainly a better bet than their Chalet. They're fairly evens on the Chalet, but everyone knows how to play in Oregon, Fabian.
Yeah, Oregon is the map where basics really come up against each other. It's the map where basics shine through everything. You don't have that many options in either bomb size because there's only 2 of them that are really reasonably easily defended. And at the same time, even if they're reasonably easily defended, there's only really one strat that you can play on it, maybe 2 at most. You don't have that much depth, so it really comes down into hard defenses to crack, but if you do it right as an attacker, you'll get through it. Now we're seeing 2 teams that have been struggling on the team play part, both of them having to head to a map where team play is key. I don't know if the individual performance can really put them apart, but it's just about which team can step up as a group.
And looking at the sort of favourability in terms of FAV as well, just jumping in off the back of that one, it isn't a map that they're fantastic on at the minute. They're actually 1-3, 1 win, 3 losses. So maybe there's a bit of that gets
There's not many that they're fantastic on at the minute. Sorry, Fav.
You could have gone to Bank, you could have gone to Chalet. Chalet was last pick there, and they've got a better record over there. So I think from Cyclops, it's certainly more of a tactical pick.
I think, Fabian, do you think there's an element as well? Cyclops, we know how good they are mechanically. Is Oregon going to play into that? Is it going to give them the opportunity to just don't worry about roamers too much? Don't worry, just get into sight, win gunfights?
It's not that simple ever, really. But Oregon, as you call it. No,
Oregon.
I enjoy Oregon because I think that testing your basics against each other is an enjoyable
It's important.
It's
part of the Oregon crew.
But I think that even if you have the more talented individual players, on Oregon, it's one of the few maps where, you might have a 50-50 fight and it might turn 52-48 in favor of the guy who has better aim. I still think it's a basic map that if you don't make mistakes, you'll win. Simple as that. It doesn't matter which players are in your team. If you're playing as a group and you're taking it step by step, cutting up the cake in different slices, you'll end up winning no matter if you're the worse or the better individual, mechanical, talented team.
Well, let's see who enjoys their cake on Oregon and who will be suffering a defeat. We have got our match of the day coming up. It's FAV versus Cyclops. It's Oregon. It's Emmy. It's fresh. Take it away.
Thank you very much, and yes, it is our match of the day, and, well, I think, to be honest, that's kind of on Cyclops.
I think so. It's a team that we're talking about chasing into that top 2. Obviously, they went up against Fnatic last week, didn't do too well. So they will be looking for a little bit of revenge. They'll be looking for a clean 3 points. And actually, the head-to-head of these two teams over the past year intrigues me, Emmy, because they've been up against each other 4 times. APAC North Stage 1, 2 and 3 of 2021, and then obviously APAC North Stage 1 of 2022. So, we are actually going to just wait to get back into game. Just as we went to the transition one, the players dropped back out. I was getting all comfortable at my cast. It's a good job my lights didn't turn off there. But the history of these two teams... I was
about to turn my camera off.
Yeah, I'd just gone sideways because I cast sideways. Nah, I don't. It's just I was looking at my... No, I was looking at my second monitor to go into the history. And I'm going to go into the history because these two teams have played 4 times in the past year and a third. Mm-hmm. And 2 of those engagements, 2 of those battlegrounds has been Oregon. So they are familiar opponents on that map. And it's been quite polarizing, actually. Stage 2 last year, FAV played up against Cyclops on Oregon, lost 3-7. Stage 1 of this year, i.e. last stage, they went up against each other on Oregon, and it was a 7-2. It was such a convincing win for FAV Gaming. So I think this was the point in Stage 1 where people thought, actually, FAV have got some substance about them here. And then I think a few games after that, they suddenly went on to implode and have carried on that implosion. So it's a map that they do know and they do like. And for Cyclops, it can be a hit and miss map as well.
For Cyclops, a game can be in a hit and miss game.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's the problem. And that's the thing is you can often highlight a trend of a team. You can see when a team is going to be successful, and there's always good days and bad days, but every team that plays in Tier 1 has potential. That's the purpose of Tier 1 and all the teams underneath it and all the tiers underneath it. But when you look at a team like Cyclops that on their day are terrifying, not just within their league, but on the international stage, how many teams from other regions, NA, LATAM, and EU, say they're tough and tricky and the worst to play against from APAC because, well, you never know what's going to come. And they're so quick and aggressive. They have so much caliber. And then they do Cyclops things. And then suddenly they'll have a terrible map, or they'll just have a terrible round, and then either side of it will be a round that's world beating, and it's almost impossible to track and trend. Whereas you can throw statistics, you can throw numbers, you can bring all of those favorite things around, but sometimes you just got to be like Fabian and ignore statistics and look at it and go, what is going on, Cyclops? And only they can answer that question.
I think they tried to be way too flexible. I think that the composition of the team, and if you looked for who is the entry fragger, who is specifically shoehorned into this role, you can get a different answer based on a different game that they play across a different stage, across a different season, across a different year. And I think that turmoil that they have of constantly changing roles, constantly changing identity and approach, it means that you're going to get that. You're talking about they can have a great game. I remember Six Invitational 2022, because it was best of threes in the group stages, they went up against Team Liquid. and they absolutely destroyed Team Liquid on the first map. And I say destroyed. It was a competitive game, but they won it. They went up against Liquid on one of Liquid's better maps, went and won it, and they looked so good. And then he fought from here on out, right? Liquid have probably got the measure of Cyclops now and won out maps 2 and 3 pretty comfortably. And that can be the Cyclops effect. They can be detrimental to themselves because they don't seem to ever find this level of like baseline consistency.
Well, where we might be finding ourselves as well is also that FAV story. It's also that idea of a team that, to be fair, was high potential and has moments, as you said, where they're suddenly striking, but their trends are a little bit more formulated. There's sort of a more of a apparent route on their ups and downs. However, coming off the back of a successful story from Reject in the previous game, who they're still having their swan song. They're still having their build-up from their first split, their first time in Tier 1, building and fighting towards the top. That puts a lot of pressure on FAV as another team from that direct region, another team from that direct competition. But when you are having other sort of Japanese teams and other Japanese league teams start to make an impression, you cannot get left behind.
Oh, and we tried it a second time and we're coming back to us. We really want to get into this game. We absolutely promise you we want to be in and talking about this game. We don't like, as much as we do like being on camera, we don't like being on camera as well. We just want to be talking about
COVID.
Siege.
The less I'm on camera, the better.
And bless you for powering through with COVID. When I had it, I definitely could not have cast, so...
In full credit to the studio, they asked if I was okay, and I'm not feeling too bad. Outside of a little bit of croakiness you can hear, but I'm isolated and I'm eating a lot of takeaway. So
there you go.
It could be worse.
There's worse things in life, and obviously it does hit people harder. Yeah, we've had a player crash going into the game just to keep everybody aware. We've launched the game twice, and as we've launched, the players crashed and disconnected. So it's just a case of getting everybody back in. But yeah, we were talking about FAV, and I think. The problem with FAV is they've got a really soft underbelly. They've got an Achilles heel that they try to play, and I'm going to do this, they try to play properly to a kind of meta that, as an EU person, I understand. That as an EU person, you understand Fabian, etc. Everybody kind of understands how FAV want to play it. And then they get so far along in the round, and then it kind of just implodes, and it's especially when they're chasing around. They don't tend to trust themselves to actually execute in a 4v5 or even in a 5v5. If they're in complete control, they've got that early pick, they can actually get an execute off. They look great. But if it's a 4v5, they tend to go chasing. They tend to stray away from their game plan, go chasing for kills and then be punished, and it just compounds it further and further. So for FAV, that's their big, I think, Achilles heel, is that kind of late round and them chasing it and making those individual plays when they don't need to.
Well, as mentioned before, we'll be back in the game momentarily. Just an unfortunate player crash and the way that it can start to slow things down. We are, as we said, sort of on that tipping point, the turning point of the halfway through the split. And as we commented before and earlier on with some of the results, we might start to get some of these teams etched in, not locked at the top, but more importantly, locked out from a chance at getting one of those first top 2 spots. And when you're looking at Cyclops currently sitting 5th on 5 points, you're kind of looking at this game against FAV, who are below them and on a single point. If they don't take the points from this, it's not guaranteed, but it's likely they won't be in Berlin.
Yeah, I think so. It would be an absolute miracle if they were going to get to Berlin. And to be honest, I think even for these two teams, is Cyclops, and that's the stressing and the importance, and we'll say it again, is that only 7 play days. 3 points per play day, obviously, are up for grabs. Cyclops need a win. They need, ideally, a regulation win here to even stay in the hunt. The fact that Talon will have just dropped points will have helped them. So it's a tricky one because that puts them under an awful lot of pressure for a team that, 2-3 stages ago, Cyclops were the team that was just running around and winning every game. No matter what they did, they could just run around and roll over this league. And then the rest of the league has caught up to them.
Catching up is that important trade-off, and that's the game that you never want to be on the chase on. For a bit of, in terms of the table context, FAV 1 point. They've only been able to take an overtime loss throughout this so far, and otherwise have, to be fair, matched up against Damwon Kia, which didn't go too well. The OT loss was against Talon. and then Reject most recently, who are now sitting, I believe, in third. Damon's still yet to play, so they could still solidify themselves back on the top of the board. But it is that sort of distance. 12 potential points left to play for, including the game ahead of them. We have our bans. We have 2 shields removed, a Thatcher and a Kaid, a standard setup for Oregon. I think we've got a game on, Jack.
I think we've got a game. We've managed to get into game. Aniton is no longer having his crashing issues, fortunately for him, fortunately for us. And look at all those skins where you've got 2 teams with their operator background cards and the skins all looking nice and complete. It's nice to see that. There's always one person who doesn't have them.
There's always one. And I mean, Parker got people booing that.
In Charlotte, yeah, he did. Yeah.
So that was good of him. Because then they kept on doing it, and he regretted it pretty much instantly.
Yeah. Yeah, because that was the thing, is like something good would be happening, or they would be talking about something absolutely random, and you just hear boos from the crowd wondering why, and then have to mention it every single time. So anyway, enough about that, enough about Charlotte. That was all been and gone. We're going up to Kids Dorms, the top floor defense from FAV Gaming. It's not a surprise to see the bans as well. Just a quick mention of them, because if you've been here before, you will know a Monty Clash ban. There is the best shield player in APAC playing on this side. In this game on the side of CAG, and that would be Aniton. He won't be surprised to have seen shields be banned away from him. He's actually going to pick up the Flores this time, but that is just a nod to how good he is playing the shields in particular. And like you say, a Thatcher Kaid, very default for Oregon, coming out from the side of Cyclops.
Well, now as we start our ingress and progress into the game itself, let's see if there can be some of that Cyclops that you kind of know and love and then forget about very quickly when they make errors. It's this approach. Very quick, very direct and to the point, holding onto the rotate at the top of white to see if they can try and get a catch on a loose thread. Aniton's going to start rolling the red arrows up the top of Armory stairs and trying to get some of the control here over onto Trophy, the Aruna gate. Tacked in on the corner. They haven't got themselves a too direct hold here. They're going to potentially play the impact underneath it. This grenade is going to cause a little bit of issue, but they saw the player and probably regret holding the pin in their hand. They are now stuck, held at bay. Iagate is going to take a little bit more of a swing. There's the player underneath as well. Fav, they're tucked in, a bit of a tricky spot. The Aruni's doing, not the Aruni, the Azami's doing everything they can to try and hold onto it. The Aruni themselves actually played off elsewhere.
That would have been a devastating loss of a first operator, so thankfully FAV have been able to keep hold of Typon, because losing the smoke so early, you lose all that value, all that utility. These armies so good on this site for reblocking up barricades, reblocking up lines of sight and breaches, and you've seen this come out already. Typon does eventually go to Iagate, probably stayed way too long to be honest, and needs to respect the operator that they're playing. 4v5, and you've got a two-sided approach coming out of CAG. You've got a direct breach, trophy side, master bedroom side, and then one player playing the double window. That makes it really awkward, especially now that Blackberry's got up white stairs, for FAV to actually play anywhere.
Well, there's a bit of a trade out at the top of Armory. Afro doing the best to hold on, but Iagator is there instantly to match the pace. Aniton, he's going for a very scrappy fight over the control of Attic, but now that just leaves Afro to their way out, round on the side, swings into the first, pushes deeper and deeper, a huge rotation, but they know. And Cyclops lock off in the first round.
And I think you saw the pressure there that Cyclops created. Once they had that perfect trifecta of the breach, of the trophy door, well, not even trifecta, quad, double window, white stairs, trophy door, and then the breach from the closet side, there's really not too many places that FAV can play. And you saw what they did is they tried to push out, they tried to relieve that pressure, and who was waiting for them? Cyclops. Every single player of Cyclops basically winning their ones in that engagement, and they had the number advantage to do so because of the positioning of the smoke and the early death of the smoke on Typhon as well. And unfortunately, it's another round where FAV have kind of outplayed themselves and lost to themselves.
It happens. It's not. It's that unfortunate.
Frequently.
It happens, isn't it? It's that sort of thing that we talk about with them as a team. It's not the most repeated or repetitive thing, but it is a thing that you have to have that awareness of. You've always got the knowledge that there's a chance and an opportunity that it's going to happen, and it's happened.
Yeah. It absolutely has. They will decide to move away from the top floor site, instead going all the way to Laundry Supply. And I think I said this yesterday, but this is absolutely a banker site when you're playing on, maybe not yesterday, maybe Monday. Been casting that many games recently. But Laundry Supply is the site that you should win on the defenses. It's the absolute top, it's the best site on this map for the defense due to the absence of any verticality other than hatches whatsoever. There's only one hatch that's even relevant realistically. So FAV, they're not even going to tell. They're going to go for a roam, top floor, mid floor, and I don't think CAG had an appreciation realistically of that roam coming out, because Ramu, he's just found an entry kill straight away, very fast, on a player that he wasn't expecting, and the player wasn't expecting him whatsoever.
No, I think that's one of those moments where it's a bit of a strike, a bit of a shock, and a bit of what you want from FAV here. That response to lean in towards this approach and cut off the claustrophobia as Ramu once again swings around. K-Razor was the bait, and it was hook, line, and sinker. Sunk out of the round. Black Ray is gone as well. They've now lost the sledge and the finker. Two huge lead-ins for this. The engagement is scrappy around on the side. The buck swings onto one. Doesn't quite get the full lock into the second. Opens the angle and gets the down onto Typon. Not quite locked in. The flash isn't going to get anything more than a bit of cover into blind. Takes the camera. Another flash. There's two players stacked up on the stairs. Really wants to try and lock in this kill. They are holding on for everything. Ayagator has the pings. Ramu has a bit of cover, and Typon has less and less blood as he goes for the slow creep and crawl round a minute 30. Number two's watching. There is the triple for Ramu. There's the pickup and the saving the player. It was a gamble, but Cyclops couldn't quite get the lock in.
I was about to say that is absolutely excellent discipline there by Ayagator to not go and chase that kill, and then he went and chased it and got punished because simply FAV had enough people on board. Now, I don't know if you saw that, but Suzuki is also rocking the Habana shotgun for some unbeknown reason to me so far, and we'll have to probably play Bearing 9 unless it's in a close range engagement, as Aniton's trying to make things happen on his own down Freezer stairs, but needs to be cautious not to go too fast before his teammate.
The slow creep and the shotgun ready to pop, but it doesn't quite work from that range, and there's now suddenly Cyclops knocking on the door of the site, but lost in the blink of an eye. The pop of the fire and the swing of the player. And there's FAV locking in what was an early build with some surprise strikes on the players on the approach.
Yeah, I have never been before seen, by the way, a player trying to shotgun somebody the full length of highway with a suppressed Habana shotgun coming out there as Suzuki. I wonder if that was a bit of a misplay on the gun selection there. Anyway, it's a good round from FAV, and it was realistically, it was built up by that entry kills that came out, particularly from, I want to say it was Ramu on the Goyo, and played it really well. Got a couple of kills, then they tried falling back, and as the fallback happened, they managed to then compound that with another kill on Ayagator, who got a little bit too aggressive on the buck. And I think that's really important because for FAV, like I say, they play numbers advantage situations really well, or tend to play them really well. So it's really important for them that they get into those numbers advantages through entry kills.
I'm kind of curious to see how this game grows. It's always one of the things when you have a fight onto Oregon is it's often cited as being a little bit of a balanced game, but that pace is something where if it starts quite hot and just gets a bit hotter, at what point are we going to start to see those cracks start to shine? Because usually that chaos is something Cyclops love to wrap themselves around.
Yeah, and the thing is, and an interesting thing about this battleground is it's pretty much Cyclops' ninth preference map. They tend to try and not come here, but apparently against FAV, they seem to see something or like something in the gameplay that they constantly keep taking FAV here. This is, like I say, it's the third time in 4 stages that they've played it out on Oregon. So, you know, it tends to lend itself to a little bit more structure, a little bit more, you know, process, which we don't associate with a Cyclops team. And that's where the chaos comes from. Now, that can be detrimental, as we say with Cyclops. It can be detrimental, or it can help them out significantly, depending on their application of that, and if they do it with team play or not.
Hey, Razor, keeping a bit of a cool. He was almost, as I said before, the bait for the approach of Ramu on the swing, but it's seemingly more caught in the cameras of number 2 this time round. Might find himself as the first fight, rather than that little loose thread that FAV was offering before. Alligator now just knocking on the side of Afro. They're trying to catch the bottom of White stairs. K-Razor, as I said before, he's in a position where he was going to be maybe a bit of a draw, but they've kind of pulled away from him now, and he's opting with the idea of, do I go for a little bit more of a pressure swing here? Takes a bit of damage for his trouble as Alligator starts some work above. They have that rough awareness, Cyclops, but they're not going for the intense fight. In fact, as you see, is the first to find Ramu around on the other side. The second is actually a catch and a trade out. Gatorada's able to get revenge there for the loss on the take. There's another back and forth there. Black Gray is one of the ones caught out as number 2. The Valk does some of the damage inside Kitchen. The spray and the dance around the corner in the center. There it is. K-Razor, I said he might be the first. He's going to be the last one left. Gets one. On the way out the door, the spray down towards Zulu. Doesn't quite get the next connection. There's the angle, and there's a second. Black Gray is gone. The Oster of Anaton still has the shield, knows where K-Razor was. You can see the pings on the player, whether they go for the plant or not. They're holding up with 50 seconds.
And that's the thing, is the information. It's an information game for both teams because you can see that there are Valkyrie cameras that are live. Anaton's going to place the shield and give away completely his location to K-Razor now. I'd be very surprised if he gets this plant off, instead baiting to choose it out. Baits out the peak, will take the peak, will win the round, Anaton, and that's just how good this particular player is. You can trust him in those scenarios to pretty much always win you those rounds in the 1v1s.
It's all you need. In a situation where you have somebody locked in for the 1 versus 1s, I know we talked about it with Sandbox earlier, is the risk of an heavy Taylor player is sometimes it's that risk and reward, but I guess if you're down to just a 1 versus 1, it's all you really want is a player that's confident in him.
Yeah, you just want to stick Anaton on, you know, you just want Anaton alive, basically, as much as you can. I think by far and away he is... Oh, do I say it? Is it a hot take? I think he's possibly the best player, individual skill-wise, in APAC. I think that he has such devastating effect. You only have to look at the amount of times he gets target banned and the freedom that he actually allows his team because of the fact that, like, Cyclops might not have ever planned to use Monty Clash today, but Anaton has just been that good on those operators. It just is target banned away from him, which gives Cyclops a lot of freedom on other operators. You know, for example, the Ossa, for example, we've seen him play Blitz as well. And that's just like, he's probably the only player inside of APAC that's consistently target banned that way. So if that doesn't say how good he is, I don't know what does.
I think it's one of the things as well, is there's not many players that do get target banned in general anymore.
Yep.
It's more... I think the game itself and the agency of needing everybody to kind of be good with a gun nowadays means that it's very rare to try and isolate a single player. And also there's a lot of transferable guns. But there's not a lot of transferable Anatons.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You definitely want him on your team rather than going against him. And we're going to see a Kids Dorms defense coming out from FAV Gaming. Obviously, they managed to lose it quite emphatically the last time that they went there. The reason being that FAV managed to get control of Trophy Master, breach that side, and get themselves up top white, and get themselves double window with no loss of life to themselves. So for FAV, it's just about staying alive, particularly Typhon, who was on the smoke. It's just, his key is just to play that far less aggressively than he did in the previous round. Value his life, because his utility late round, when the execute came in the last round, would have been absolutely vital, but he was the entry death.
With the Ossa as well, it's worth noting, usually they're a bit of the lead in, and obviously with the shields gone, it's still something Anaton is more than happy to wield. And the approach here over the top of Dorms, I'm curious to see if they try and actually lock it in with one of those 2 shields. It seems like it's a very Dorms-focused approach for now, in terms of, Attic focused. I'm blaming that one on COVID. Obviously, it's Dorms, it's a Dorms site. But they have more of a body and more of a presence, and the Ossa and the kit over there instead. Whereas last time, they've tried to drive themselves a little bit more direct over the top of Trophy and Armory.
I guess is actually going to manage to sneak into Kitchen here. Needs to be aware that he's probably got a player inside of CCTV security next to him. Hence the rotates that are all around. K-Razor seems aware of this. Will peek in, will shoot the drone, will not see the head. And Alligator will find the easiest kill of his life, which should have been a death for him. Will try one of those up nades, will fail it, but that is advantage onto CAG so far. That's good. They've got people in below, they've got up nades coming in, and they've now got a 2-pronged attack coming in as well.
Well, number 2 is busy, and he's isolated with a fight. He's holding on, and the sooner he wins this, the sooner he can go back and help the site itself. That's 2 grenades, so now the Nook's going to be focused elsewhere, but the longer number 2's here, as I said, it just means they know there's a mana disadvantage on the site itself. Afro Bites back, stops Anaton. Number 2 is there and able to win it out, and Gatorada at least brings it back a little bit into Cyclops' favor. But 30 seconds, some important kills, and now suddenly the rotate from Gatorada underneath. They have control of Attic. They have the slow creep round. Typon is ready to watch the door and see if they get the rotate, as well as Afro, who actually rotates his way out a little bit closer. Wants to take the fight here on Armory Stairs. Does Gatorada no? No. Afro is able to get an easy pickup. Gets dropped instantly, but 13 seconds, and Typon the smoke is going to rotate round to a new position. Just misses. Last swings, the plant goes in, tucked in. Oh, he is in a perfect place to stop this. He gets 1, he gets 2! Typon clutches it out!
Who would have thought that if the smoke isn't the entry def, he can be there at the end of the round to clutch it out? Absolutely. The one thing that I loved about FAV in that end game there, when it got to that 2v3 point of view, was the movement of the two players. The fact that they were both able to utilize Trophy and top Armory Stairs, rotate themselves away, and then even right in the end there, Typon, the attack had absolutely no clue where he is. They had to play the value odds game of he's probably somewhere top white, deep into sight. Actually, he'd rotated all the way back through, and that was vital. It was so late in the day, and I've got to say that was the kills coming in underneath from number 2 that really disrupted the Cyclops attack, that then wasted a whole lot more time having to go and kill number 2, and that time, information, FAV utilised it really well and got the round.
It was just that positioning there as well, the sort of knowledge to know where the push was coming from, the little bit of a swing around, not giving the game away on the position. You could see that Cyclops were trying to find that last loose player. They're in the one place that caused them the biggest heartbreak.
Laundry supply again. Once again, FAV defended this really well the last time that they went to it. They used this kind of 3-tiered roam, top floor, middle floor, and obviously fall back to the bottom floor. And Ramu managed to find a couple on the entry kills, really tested Cyclops' execute, and in the end, Cyclops didn't have an execute answer whatsoever. I would expect Cyclops to be a little bit better and a little bit more aware that the roam's actually going on this round, and actually commit to try and clearing it. And we're already seeing the fact that there's 2 or 3 players going up into the top floor immediately, doors being open to cut the roam down, as a testament to that. They want to go and clear this roam, and they believe that's the most effective way to win this round.
Cyclops here, still hitting a bit of the back and forth, looking for this early take. Bit of a pre-fire round to Ramu, who has been tricky in some of these positions he's gotten himself into. Seemingly not entirely unknown, but not unchecked. Well, there is almost an entire check out there. They lean back in, though, and Black Ray, well, he almost got caught out at first, but the Finker can keep firing. At the same time, Gatorada was able to get one on the split side as well, and suddenly FAV find themselves 2 bodies down here. They've got a big extension, and the site is down in the basement, worth remembering based on the positions of the FAV players. Quite high up there, trying to retake some of the lost positions of the 2 dead, and it's quite a big risk, because if it doesn't work, it's over.
If it does work, as we will see Afro get that kill onto Black Ray, it can be very disruptive. The whole of the fight is nowhere near sight whatsoever here. The refrag comes in from Suzuki, and that's a big problem, because at the end of the day, Cyclops could have walked into sight about a minute ago with nobody there. They chose to go and fight and clear that roam, and they've gone and fought and cleared that roam particularly well. Got themselves to a 4v2 scenario, and realistically from here on out, you would expect, especially with the IQ on the board, they now know where all the information is for FAV and can deal with it in an appropriate way. Make a plan, stick to your plan, and ultimately when the push comes to shove, you're going to have at least 2 people looking at one person, every one person for FAV, and can win it out on numbers alone.
Can they get those numbers working in terms of the intel? That's the important part now. FAV have had the time and they've been able to pull themselves back in, but it is still only 2 of them. And number 2, I say pull himself back in, he is still trying to play that gambler's game of can I bite a bit early as Cyclops flood into the site and get that one other player. You're all that's left. You know they're all around you. They have the site. You have nothing other than maybe the element of surprise. But you now also have bullets in your face. Cyclops, they are able to take that. They saw the opportunity inside the site, and then it became theirs as the lock-in.
Laundry supply was won by FAV the first time that they defended it. And I think realistically that was because they caught Cyclops off with the roam. Cyclops were not expecting the roam. A change of approach in this particular round that we've just seen from Cyclops is that they understood that there would be a roam. They understood that they needed to really force those engagements And they did. They got the 2 entry picks, they got it to a 5v3, and realistically from there, FAV were just left chasing their tail. They were left trying to push up stairways. Even in the end there, you see in number 2, up at the top of Laundry Stairs, there's 4 players in sight, just trying to force a kill, trying to relieve that pressure. And that was really good pressure by Cyclops, because they knew about the roam, and then basically just isolated the gunfights. And it was gunfights absolutely nowhere near sight. But once they'd isolated, you would always back the Cyclops players generally to have more gun skill than the FAV players. They did. They won, and then they put them under a load of pressure from there.
3-2, and the distance is once again into a favor, but how long? As this game has entirely been back and forth. We have a sense. We also have the combination with the potential of the Glaz, and seeing what destruction can be rained upon a site, which, to be honest, does give you a bit of a flat push. Here without the Yossa, you'll sometimes see brought for this site and this push in particular, but instead they've opted for maybe something a little bit new.
Sense. We're going to see some Sense play, and it's APAC who keep teaching us how to play Sense. Obviously, those light walls are and can be used to enable some great plant locations. The best use of Sense I've seen from a lot of teams actually has been through drone holes, because through the drone holes you can often get a direct line of sight right the way through sight. Now obviously on the meeting side there is only one drone hole, and you'll be rolling the light wall straight into a load of sandbags. So unless you angle it in a very specific way, it's going to be pretty difficult to use. But this is a big open site where defenders rely on having a long line of sight to know when the plant's going down. So I like the fact that they've brought Sense, and also Aniton is going to play the Glaz. Long angle, essentially DMR sniper, can see through the smoke as well. It's going to be pretty difficult, even when these walls get opened up, which they won't be, because, they will because it's a hard breach gadget. I was going to say there's no breacher. It's going to be difficult for the defenders to realistically push and find those kills at the long range.
It's also FAV. They do enjoy playing this bit of an exploratory game. You still have some of the presence on the stairs, and well, there's the 2 gadgets gone. One of them was needed for the angle from the stairs to get the long arm, and the other one is still a hop through angle. No easy way in outside of the gadgetry and killing your way through. The pop of a gun 6, I think, towards the back end of the side itself. The Glaz is hoping that somebody goes for a pick and a peek round, but you can still see some control over. They're still happy. They're saying, well, there's more for them to do. Susie C's got himself with the kit inside the corridor, ready to potentially go for a swing. It's being watched, but again, still not entirely locked in. Trying to destroy the Sense as much as possible. Number 2 suffers. There's the first the engagement as a Flores drone forces a player and gets caught out by the Glaz, fervently watching. There's the bounce, the smoke, one more, and a little bit more as Igator tries to drive his way up towards kitchen. More smokes, more cover, and everything is going on that stage apart from a plant.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's just baiting out the utility, but it was excellent teamwork there to use the Sense gadget, the smoke, the RTU Rotero, and then get that opening kill onto Ramu. That is exactly the team play you want to see from Cyclops.
And they just find that last player. Another roll, another little dip and a test. They're not entirely sure they've locked in all the utility, and well, there is still a C4 and another smoke, but it's a post plant. 40 seconds, just looked away at the worst possible time. The Glaz couldn't quite get the kill. Now they have one direction to watch. The cover and rotations coming up from underneath. Double down to get the air jab. There's one to the left. Do they know? Well, maybe not. No, they don't. Spray through, don't drop, but they finally do. It's a 5 versus 4 versus 1. A little bit too much there. Cyclops, they threw all the utility and the world at that stage. Most importantly, they found the kid at the end of it.
There is something that a lot of teams inside of EU, and I'm going to reference EU specifically, but also in APAC North and also across the world, there is one thing teams can learn from that particular round right there, is that no matter what you do, what operators you have, what strategy you have, if you are working as a cohesive unit to achieve kills, you will achieve kills. Now, I've never really seen Sense, Glaz, and Flores as a devastating combo before, until this round, where you've got the Sense gadget basically creating a line of sight for the Glaz to stick a head in the breach. Glaz's head is, and a player has been identified deep into meeting, and then the RCU Rotero comes in and forces that player away, and that kill is completely achieved from Cyclops working together and making use of their utility that they've got. And that was really the story of the game, of the story of that round, was Cyclops just working together, eventually baiting out all the smokes because FAV simply did not know they were planting or not, and then they get the plant down and win the round. FAV had absolutely no answers to that, but that was really excellent siege played by Cyclops.
Can they carry it over onto their defense? We've seen FAV flirt with the idea of danger around most of the map, but that is a dance Cyclops is very, very well familiar with. Here, they've got themselves that big extension all the way to the top and still getting themselves set up there with the ADS is quite high up onto the freezer. Gives you an idea they don't want to give any of that flat floor down on the basement away. Black Ray, he's tucked in a very aggressive fight here, ready to almost stack up here. There's 2 players droning their way towards this engagement.
Yeah, and I love Black Ray is literally one of my favorite players to watch on the defense because he basically perma-mains Alibi and will go and get the entry kill. He'll be involved in so many entry engagements for his team, and he's going to be involved in another one here. It's all on Ramu or Black Ray. Whoever flinches first, it will be Black Ray who actually chooses to fall back, which is unlike him, to be honest, in most engagements. The one thing to watch out for Black Ray, and the one thing that I love about him, is when he takes that entry engagement, he carries on going forward and tries to rip through the whole team if he can. He often gets himself traded out, so he usually gets a 1-for-1 to start the round off, but it's not always bad considering he plays Alibi, which is more or less set and forget, and then he can usually take away some good attacker utility.
Talking of, drifts by a drone, gets it caught out, and hasn't been caught out. Didn't want to stick around and see if the fight would come to his way, and sort of understood he's not going to be on the bad end of this approach from FAV, which is still pretty well put together. This, however, could be that surprise swing. They're hoping somebody drifts and expects the fight from Gatorada, and they can get a little bit aggressive elsewhere, but it seems like they're, for now, pretty focused on the take onto Freezer Stairs itself. A little bit of pressure elsewhere on Laundry, and the smoke canister forces the 2 players back in. They can still do some constructive work, but it's the kit that's hovering and sitting on the other side of tower, or maybe they do know Iagator's there.
Yeah, only a minute to go from FAV, so whilst they've got necessary map control, they've got the mid floor, they've still got problems they've got to deal with. Suzuki's going to play on the Freezer Stairs. That represents a problem in terms of going down there. The fact Iagator is still lurking around means that actually FAV are going to have big problems as Suzuki finds a double on the Freezer Stairs, using the smoke canisters to devastate in effect, force them into you, and finish them off with the shotgun.
I mean, that's what you need them to do in that situation, but it's now down to FAV to see how they respond to it. The Candelas are going to start their roll and their vicious cycle down towards E-Box, and, well, it doesn't quite get the catch at anyone. And Gatorada, he's tucked himself behind the shield. Afro's looking for a fight. It's not to be found. The Bulletproof's going to give the game away on where the push and the drop is coming from. They can fully reorientate. They still have Elbow. That's going to come under a bit of fire. They still have Anaton on the far side as well. Whether he's got Echo Drone still standing or not, it seems like they're focused on the fight and the attempt on the plant. Their shield on the swing makes things very difficult. There's an Echo Drone. Gives the game away pretty early here. The swing round. Black Ray gets 1 more. Number 2 is at least able to fight back, but the kit's cold, as is the player closest to it. Doesn't matter what you can do at this point, number 2. This is a Cyclops round.
And it was absolutely just set up by the appreciation of the power positions. And I will commend him, because as much as I set the preamble around Black Ray about how he loves to seek those entry engagements and then carries on going through, he actually fell back to site. And it was Suzuki who ended up in the entry engagements, but playing the assets of that site, I do say it's a banker, and I say it for good reason, is because the defenders just have so much power positions, so many. There are literally about 10 power positions down on that basement site for whichever way the attack comes from, and it's so hard to clear. Now, rightly so, FAV are going to take their tactical timeout. They've just lost 3 rounds in a row. They're 5-2 down, and they really need points, because in their overall, they're not going to make the major, but it's all about relegations for them as well, because they're also having a rough 2022. So they're not out of the woods yet. They're joint level on points with Fnatic and 10 points in the overall league. Spear, as I said, with the Fnatic game, will pick up points. And the fact Reject have won today in regulation has put Reject 5 points clear of them in 5th place. So FAV are really flirting with danger. And every point, therefore, is absolutely crucial for them.
It was kind of momentary, those times from FAV. We started to see them restructure a little bit on that approach, suffering 2 deaths on the freezer swing and then still trying to make the execute happen within the next 15 seconds is never easy, but at least it shows that they had those options available and they were quick to respond to. Sometimes a problem that FAV has suffered before. Cyclops, well, the fact that the Alibi was one of the ones to strike at the end is maybe actually a little bit of a description of how they can't quite able to play against Cyclops rather than the map itself. They were hyper aggressive around small tower. And then, even then, that escape route they took at about a minute 30 past, they're still back at the site. They're unscathed, they're untethered. And at that point, you know, if they're playing that aggressive position, they assume they could be dead in the opening 15 seconds.
Absolutely. We've got a pulse of Igate. I don't know who's going to try something elaborate there, but chooses to just re-barricade the window. Accidentally, a hole got put in it. Looks like there's going to be some pure aggression coming out of Cyclops, particularly with Gatorada. He's prepping a lot of stuff down on the basement. Looks like he's going to be out on a solo roam by himself. Obviously needs to be careful he doesn't get isolated, but to be honest, it doesn't even look like FAV are going to drone that basement entirely, so Gatorada could have some devastating flanks coming at some point. FAV, looks like they're gonna go actually from the tier 2, tier 3 side and use the Maverick to open up onto the attic wall. Typhon looks like he's potentially gonna get ready onto the rappel to maybe try and find a freebie, but needs to make sure that his windows are being held by his teammates if he wants to do that.
The combination here of all those players stacked up, he thinks this may go fast with Typhon there, and it's traded out. It's instant back and forth, but it has fallen apart once again. They've met the wrong end of an English shotgun, and nothing that E1D could have done. You've seen the Lions now had to rotate off it. Gatorada's going to say hi, and well, almost says bye. They go back in though. They try to find the fight. It's Igate that swings around from that quick broach window. Ramu inside sight, but with no one else there, he's got to try and refight his way back towards the kit. It's weird at this point. Attic is the only bit under the control of Cyclops, but it's got the kit. It's still got some utility. That's a danger, and it's caught out by an ADS. A minute 20. How are they going to restructure this?
K-Raze has actually managed to find one, and Gatorada's got a massive role to play in this. He needs to get up white stairs and help his team, because realistically, Suzuki has died, and the pulse has had to fall off, but will throw a C4, will be shot out. Hopefully Gatorada's got somewhere close to sight, because now, FAV, they're about to pull a round back from nothing. Pulse knows that the plant's going on, can't actually get any verticality on this location whatsoever. I don't know where Gatorada is in all this engagement. He didn't go up white, did go up armory, does find one, but will get re-fragged out, and it will be Pulse shotgun, completely. Ramu is completely unaware that the Pulse is also going up the armory stairs, and Ramu will win. Alligator will win that out for CAG in what I will say is possibly one of the strangest rounds of Rainbow Six I have ever seen in my life.
Right? So it's like, it starts with the rush that we called and we saw, and it locked down because there was 3 players that were in attic, whether they predicted it or it was a happy coincidence. Well, they danced and they swung back in. The rush almost worked because of the finger being inside the site. It was like Cyclops, as I said, had no control other than attic at that point. They'd pulled back. They got the kit down in a pulse shotgun rotate.
It was so strange to see that FAV were in the numbers advantage, but Cyclops had all of sight other than attic, and actually had, realistically, had Cyclops locked into attic, with the only escape being through meeting. And I thought Gatorada actually had misplayed it at that point, because I thought when he was on the rotate, get himself up white, and he would then basically re-provide the crossfire back onto the FAV players, but went up armory, and yeah, it was... I don't know. And even the decision to rush, I just want to talk about that, because they brought the Maverick, they brought the Flores, and they brought the Lion, which, sure, Lion is a good operator to rush with, and you had the Lion on the rappel that was meant to take the attention as the rush was going in. But why would they bring those operators and then just decide to rush? Because clearly they didn't have information, because there was 4 people looking at the rush. So they clearly didn't have a load of information around the rush. I think it was a little bit misinformed from FAV there.
I mean, it's something that now has put Cyclops sitting on map point. And yep. I think even they might have been a bit surprised by the pace and how the previous round went. Black-Grey, before they get too caught out, catches themselves a hop over the short wall and heads elsewhere. Typhon, I was going to say, yeah, he's going to open up this window, which means Black-Grey's rotate back round isn't as comfortable. He's not going to opt to take it as of yet. He's seemingly hoping that they swing into the fire, because he knows that it's probably likely watched. He knows that his presence was there, and it's one of the only real rotate routes through.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be too worried about that. In the way Black-Grey plays, he likes to get a little bit aggressive. However, FAV, they're not doing actually too bad a job minute or so in, they will try and get the nade over the top of the Attic double reinforcement, not appreciating that there are 3 Jaeger ADSs. So even if you threw 2, they would get taken out. And Aniton,
And the Thunderbirds.
yeah, the Thunderbirds as well.
This is.
If you want to consider a power position, 2 people playing there, 3 ADSs and all of the Thunderbird gadgets, yeah, they really want to hold on to that position with their lives.
Insane. Every single salvation station, all the ADSs, I know you are 6-2 up, but come on, Cyclops. It's not even that directly towards the side of the site, and they're just bypassing it anyway. Ramu's tucked in around in the close corners. They have the kit. K-Razor finds Aniton. Have they actually left now the top of Attic?
You would have to presume so, as Ramu's got himself into flag, but will be between a rock and a hard place, was between a shield and a smoke canister, will get taken out. Alligator finds another one, and once again, Suzuki's back on that flank. K-Razor's going to be next in line here. Does manage to find one, but will get instantly refragged out, and suddenly Typon's on this map recall, wondering what the hell's gone on here.
Oh, Typon, very clean couple of kills there. Suddenly either side, and suddenly it's just Gatorada left. We've talked about the players that can be in this situation, and now we'll see if this absolute
Surely
lockdown
not.
Attic is in their favor. Typon, the slow rotate round onto Kitchen, isn't going to try and angle himself towards the side elsewhere, trying to find this loose last player. Does have the kit, does have the chance and the option, but Typon wants to set himself up for the fight. Plays the idea of a plant for a second. Heard the gunfire, swings in and knocks it out. Typon, he's able to punish what was a little bit of a whimsical Cyclops.
Oh, what is this game, Cyclops? This is the most Cyclops game ever, especially recently. If you could show what Cyclops was like, show the last 2 rounds, because this has just been absolutely mental. They've just thrown a 3v1, and you know, it's not that they didn't know the position of Typon. He just managed to hit unreal shots from just kind of lurking. Got it to a 1v1, wins the 1v1 out. And Cyclops had everything and lost everything, and that's the inconsistency that can unfortunately come out. However, I don't think they're going to be too upset, to be brutally honest. You know, they get to go back to Laundry Supply. They get to go play Kids Dorms again if they absolutely need it the next round. So they will be backing themselves to win at least one of the next 2 rounds and get all 3 points here.
If you're in a stack playing ranked, maybe even just playing the game, and you had a Thunderbird and a Jaeger, and they put all of their gadgets, both of them, put all of their gadgets on that little dip, and then left it.
Yeah.
You would think they were throwing your... You personally, it's different in this context, but...
It's unconventional is what I would say, and that is CAG. And we're going to have some more fun here because I'm seeing a Blitz and a Lion, and that pretty much only indicates one thing is going to happen at a point in time. There's going to be a rush, and as the overhead view showed, there was basically nobody in sight if they'd have already gone for it. Obviously, they're going to spend a little bit more commitment and time droning it, but they could still go in for free right now if they went for it.
Well, they're just going to see if they can try and get any of this approach on the side. The Echo drones having that side utility that we'll often see them for is just getting that lean in. And as he said, here comes that approach. The broach is going to come against Oil. There's a gun 6. I think we're about to have one of them old-fashioned rushes fresh. Here it is. Down straight towards the fight. The Jaeger's spraying either side. The pings come through. They're going to pop off instantly. Tucked in around the corner. There's 2 players. No further for this blitz. They're going to see if they can get one. They do. Gatorada gets number 2 and gets the second on the back of it. But it's Gatorada. A triple round on the far side of blue. Ramu has dropped. And it just leaves the blitz. They got deep, they got a kill, but they had nobody else with them. Cyclops lock it out and take the 3 points.
And what an entertaining last 3 rounds that we just got treated to there by Cyclops and FAV. And the one thing that I will say for FAV with 2 failed rushes is you cannot out Cyclops when you are against Cyclops. You simply cannot do it. They are the masters of that type of gameplay, and you can keep trying it, and you did try it twice on the side of FAV, and you did fail both times with it. Cyclops ultimately just a little bit better on the attack, certainly more disciplined, and then once they got on the defense, I always thought they were going to see it out from there.
And that's it. That is Cyclops pulling 3 precious points. FAV, I think this rules them out of the contention 100% for a spot at the upcoming major. There are still 9 points to play for in the remaining couple of days, but it won't be enough. And it's still far from enough, to be honest, for Cyclops themselves as well. I am super curious to see what Fabian has to say about this. So we'll take it to a quick break before we're back with our desk.